Thank you, David. Yeah, Veo's a small town. We just have pig and chickens. We just got rid of our pig 2 days ago. That was a kind of a traumatic experience for some of our kids, but should be fruitful. I'd like to start out by thanking all of you for taking the time to be here today. Because heaven knows there are a million other things you could be doing, but the fact that you care enough about your state, your country, your community, to be involved in the very process which establishes how policy is created and executed says a lot about you. And so I commend you, and I want to give you a round of applause for being here. I have 5 kids, and my youngest is a little 7-month-old girl. And I say little. She's larger than any of our other babies have been. She's about 5 pounds heavier than they were at 7 months. She's a big kid, but she's little. When she was born, she inherited about $348,000 worth of unfunded liabilities. Or in other words, that's the obligation that we as a people have decided that she will have the obligation to pay over her lifetime. Currently, it's growing each day. And that gave me a little bit of pause for thought as I was holding her in my arms. Here's this young soul that's just entered this sphere of life. She's excited. She doesn't know what awaits her, but we are making choices for her. Where we as a people have had great opportunity to choose throughout time, throughout the history of our nation, slowly, especially over the last century, we have whittled away at those available liberties, those things that we hold sacred, until there is a diminishing amount of liberty for our posterity. And that concerns me, as I'm sure it concerns all of you. Jim brought up this great society that our great President Johnson decided to bless the people with. But our great society is leading us to a lack of society, leading to a lack of liberty. It's obligating all of us. It's a major concern, and we have to deal with it. Administrations, as has been brought up, whether Democrat or Republican, have talked about how we need to address it or extend it one way or the other, and nothing gets done other than its extension, its promotion, its continuance. And we're enslaving our children to our excesses today. In the song that we sang as a group, America the Beautiful, in its second verse, it has a line that says, "Confirm thy soul in self-control." And that is something that I feel we've lost. That's one reason why we have these unfunded liabilities, and the debt that we have is because we as a people and as a nation have lost the principle of self-control in so many ways. We've gone instead to a pattern of self-indulgence, of excesses, and we've lost that principle. Now, we all here understand that. That's why we're here. We're trying to make a change, make a difference. We have to re-enthrone self-control. And the next line, which reads, "Thy liberty in law." And we've instead changed that from securing our liberties with law to securing ourselves from our liberties with law. And that is the key of a nation which is losing its ability to self-govern. Because we seek for more and more masters to control our time and efforts, our passions and energy, because we have lost the self-control to be able to control ourselves, to do what's right. And instead we look to the letter of the law from Washington or from Salt Lake to tell us what is right. And by telling us what is right, then we can feel justified in our actions. But there's a higher law that has guided us from the inception of this nation. And that is that self-control. It's a law of morality, where we stand up for what is right, not because it will benefit us necessarily immediately, but because we know in our hearts that it will affect change for us and our posterity. That's why the founders did what they did with the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. There are some that would say they were just wealthy landholders and they wanted to protect what they had. But as wealthy landholders, many of them could be considered aristocracy under the British Crown. They didn't need to do what they did for their own benefit. They had it. And in fact, by their very efforts, put to the test their property, what they owned. They put it up and had stood the chance of having it all taken away, and many of them lost that and more, their very lives, their families, those who they held dear. But they did it because they knew that we would come. They knew that we would be here on this land and that we needed an opportunity to exercise for ourselves our rights given by God, not by some bureaucratic organization across the Atlantic or in Washington, but that we needed the opportunity to sow the seeds of freedom in our own fields and pastures. And so they sought to clear those fields. And what have we done with them? How clear are those fields for our posterity? We need to ponder on that. Because really that's what we're leaving, right? We can live here and we can obtain property and prominence. But ultimately, it's what we leave behind that makes a difference for those who come after us. We need to be those who go before and clear those fields again. We had a great generation in the founding generation. How did you get such a number of wonderful and honest, upright men together to establish the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence? It's a miracle. But I'd submit that we have before us here a new founding generation, every bit as capable and with every opportunity to effect the same change for the generations which will come after us. That's why I stand here. That's why I'm running for office in District 2. Because I believe we can make a change. I believe that we can remove the shackles, both on ourselves and following generations. I believe that we have the power to do that, but we have to stand up. We have to be able to encourage those around us to wake up, as has been indicated, to join in the fight for those freedoms, because they weren't given lightly in the first place, and as we've given them up, they aren't going to be lightly taken again. And so you and I, together, have to make that fight our number one priority.